which brings us back to Elijah's story. And you remember the story. 1 Kings chapter 17, verse 1, he declared that there would be a drought. There was a severe drought for 3.5 years. 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 1, he faced off face to face with Ahab and said, we're going to have this big contest, and we're going to, you have your prophets of Satan, of Baal and Ashtoreth, and they will prepare a sacrifice, and I'll prepare a sacrifice, and the God who answers by fire will be the true God. And everybody said that's a good idea. And of course they did that. Nothing happened when Satan was called upon. But when God was called upon, God lapped up everything. He lapped up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones itself, even the dust, and even the water that they had poured 4 bucketfuls of water onto the sacrifice. And God answered. Elijah did great things. And then he prayed for rain after that. And the flooding rains came. But then Satan attacked him in the natural. Jezebel threatened his life. She said, by this time tomorrow, you'll be dead. And Elijah, for the first time in a long time, or maybe the first time ever, didn't call out to God. For some reason, he didn't turn to God. He didn't seek God. He decided that this was such a severe problem, this was so drastic, the needs are so immediate that I've got to do something right now. I'll talk to God later. What a big mistake that was. And so you remember the story. Elijah ran into the wilderness. He ran for 60 miles and then went another day's journey into the wilderness because he was so afraid of Jezebel and so afraid of that death threat. Here's something to think about. If Satan was able to knock Elijah off his spiritual game, he could knock us off our spiritual game too if we're not paying attention. We need to be very, very careful and make sure we're not trying to navigate life on our own. Make sure we haven't drifted from God. But no matter what has happened, no matter how far we've drifted, God still loves His children, and God still loved Elijah too. He loves you and me as well, and that's why He sent Jesus to rescue us while we were yet sinners, Romans chapter 5 verse 8. And it's because of His great love for us that He rescues us. And it was because of His great love for Elijah that He went to rescue Elijah as well. And you remember what happened? God sent the wind, which was probably a tornado, and Elijah's back in the cave. And then He sends an earthquake, and then He sends a fire, and then He sends that still, small voice, which said to Elijah in a loving, don't you know it was the most loving, tender way that God could say it. What are you doing here, Elijah? What are you doing here, Elijah? The translation is I love you. Why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you talk to me? I really do have the power to take care of you. I really do have the power to rescue you. I really do have the power to bless you, and I really do want to bless you. Have you ever been there? Sad and alone, down and out. Satan has knocked you down, and we become afraid like Elijah became afraid, and we begin to drift from God. And so here's the first lesson to remember. Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God is bigger and stronger than our worst problem. And He can make all things better if we'll ask Him. Remember Philippians 4:13? I can do all things through Him, or through Christ who strengthens me. I can do all things through God who strengthens me. We need to stop running. Elijah finally came to a place where he stopped running and he laid down. We need to stop running. We need to stop handling things on our own. We need to go back to God. We need to remember this truth that God is bigger and stronger than Satan.